Welcome to this special edition of our Strange Laws series, where truth is stranger than fiction. Normally, we voice over the little animations and graphics and add some fun skits. A lot of you have asked why some of these weird archaic laws were instigated in the first place. This time, we reveal all.
Let's kick it off with some rather odd laws from the state of Georgia. We're starting with some strange laws concerning animals.
It is illegal to keep a donkey in a bathtub. Firstly, why would you want to keep a donkey in a bathtub? And secondly, why was it considered necessary to legislate against it?
There is in fact a valid reason for this very weird law. In 1924 in Arizona, a farmer kept his donkey in an old bathtub. There was a downburst and the town flooded, and the poor donkey was still in the bathtub and he floated downstream.
Oh, poor thing. Was he rescued?
Yes, he was in fact. But it took a lot of money and manpower to actually rescue this poor donkey. He was saved. But after that, legislation was brought in, not just in Arizona, but in Georgia and some other states, to actually legislate against keeping a donkey in a bathtub because, it was a very costly exercise rescuing him.
But if he was not in the bathtub, maybe he wouldn't have made it.
Oh, that's a very valid point. Well, perhaps they thought, only cost the farmer something, end of. Yeah. But having him in the bathtub, you're right, it saved his life. Yeah. In Georgia, no one must carry an ice cream cone in their back pocket on a Sunday.
So what does this have to do with animals, you might ask? Apparently, horse thieves used to keep ice cream cones in their back pockets to lure horses away.
On a Sunday, I think a lot of people went to church and tied their horses up. And then, while everyone was in the church, the horse thief could come along with his ice cream in his back pocket and lure the horses away.
It is illegal to tie a giraffe to a telephone pole or a lamppost in Atlanta.
So this law was instigated in the 1800s to protect animals from the circus. The circus brought with them all different varieties of animals. So these laws were put into place so that circus owners wouldn't tie up their animals around town and sort of leave them there.
Oh God.
They had to look after them properly.
Well, that's good, I suppose.
Yeah. It is illegal to tie a horse to a tree on the courthouse square in Decatur, Georgia.
This law was enacted to prevent horses from damaging trees.
Oh, well, now that does make sense.
Only in the courthouse square, though.
Or perhaps they wanted to, had the sort of range of matching trees. And
Oh,
they wanted to
yeah.
keep it all, pristine.
Yeah.
Because that's like the hub.
In Athens-Clarke County, owners of mules may not allow their animal to roam around unsupervised.
Well, no one wants their town running amok with stray mules. Maybe the mules were becoming a nuisance, going to people's farms and eating all the hay or the crops, or defecating on the sidewalks and, on the walkways. In Atlanta, it's illegal to tie a dog to a fire hydrant.
This law was put into practice to prevent dogs from obstructing fire hydrants. It's obviously very important for firefighters to have easy access to the fire hydrants.
Actually, in several other states, there are laws against tying animals to a fire hydrant. I think I'm right in saying that applied in Florida with alligators. It would be impossible for the firefighters to access it with an alligator.
True.
There. Bad enough with a dog, it'd be a bit territorial, but an alligator, impossible.
Impossible, yes. So, from our four-legged friends to the two-legged variety, chickens. Chickens actually feature quite a lot in laws in Georgia. In Quitman, Georgia, it is illegal for a chicken to cross the road. So I'm very laugh.
It's the classic joke, isn't it? Why did the chicken cross the road?
I didn't read ahead. It made me chuckle.
So at the time, the chicken industry was a huge industry in Georgia, and the authorities were worried about the spread of avian diseases, not letting the chicken basically cross the road or across the frontier from one farm to another, kept them separate and didn't allow for, spread of the various avian I don't know why I do that. Diseases. In Gainesville, Georgia, it is illegal to eat fried chicken in any other way than with your fingers.
This might be slightly more challenging to enforce in the UK, where we're from, because we love eating with a knife and fork, maybe even something like fried chicken.
There are some people who would eat fried chicken and, pizza with a knife and fork. Quite a few people, Lucy's dad.
This law was put into place in 1961 as a way to promote the city's poultry industry. At this time, Gainesville was one of the largest producers of poultry in the country, and the city wanted to encourage people to eat the poultry by eating with their fingers. I think that's probably trying to make it fun, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
And like shareable. They actually went so far as to ban people from eating the food with knives, forks, spoons. That doesn't sound fun at all, does it?
No, not so much fun.
I'd be too scared to eat chicken because it might get in trouble if I do it wrong.
I know.
In Columbus, Georgia, it is illegal to cut off a chicken's head on a Sunday.
This law was actually instigated to stop people from disturbing the peace on a Sunday, to stop them taking part in very noisy activities. And I'm guessing they're actually trying to chop a chicken's head off, chasing them around the farm, or her around the farmyard, is going to cause a little bit of a noise and a disturbance. Any other day, fine, but not on a Sunday. In Ackworth, Georgia, all citizens must own a rake.
There must be a lot of leaves to sweep up in Georgia.
Must be.
Actually, this crazy law was only really passed in jest, but it's still on the books. In 1982, the nearby city of Kennesaw passed a law that all citizens had to own a gun. So Ackworth responded by enforcing all its citizens to own a rake.
Oh, that's just brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is just so brilliant. I love it.
You cannot live on a boat for more than 30 days during the calendar year, even if you're just passing through the state.
There were people who had these houseboats, and they were really not kept up to the best standard, shall we say. They were a bit run down and a bit unsightly. And I guess the local people sort of by the river had these nice houses and this beautiful views, and seeing these run down old boats chugging across the river is kind of going to spoil the ambience somewhat.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting that you could live there for 29 days.
Perhaps it took that time to sort of traverse the river. So actually in 1992 they just had enough and stipulated that you weren't allowed to live on a houseboat at all. In Athens, Clarke County, adult bookstores may not sell alcohol.
Don't want to be enjoying yourself too much.
God. Shall we not go any further?
Yeah, let's leave that one there.
Leave that one there.
It is illegal to bury a person under a sidewalk in a cemetery.
There is one exception. If you file a request with the municipal authorities, then you can request them. Why would you want to inter somebody under some sort of pathway? And then what do you do with the tombstone? Nice little pathway, graves either side and, all set out. Then there's this huge, great tomb in the middle that you can't get round.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless you have one of those floor slabs like you might in a church.
Oh, yeah, like in a church, yeah, so it's just flat.
Yeah.
It is illegal to tie a person to a railroad track as a form of punishment.
So this one might seem obvious, but it was actually a law that came into effect in the 1800s to kind of prevent these vigilante justice people. But you can imagine that would be a huge hazard for people on the train.
Well, yeah, actually you are putting their lives in danger, and the stress for the poor train driver.
Yeah.
But I guess it was like a very obvious warning signs to criminals, like, don't mess with us here because we're going to tie you to the train tracks. Yeah, I can see why that would need legislation if that was like common practice. A bit harsh justice, isn't it, really?
It is really, yeah. I don't know what you'd have to do to deserve that. Probably not very much back in the day.
Probably not.
It is illegal to say, "oh boy," in Jonesboro.
This may sound funny, like a funny story, but actually there is a sad backstory to this. After the Civil War, the South was sort of decimated, annihilated. So the slaves that were freed were looking for work. So they came to places like Jonesboro, but all they got really was like scraps from the wealthy people who lived there. So this law was instigated to actually stop this sort of racist behaviour and people treating the black people as inferior citizens. Sorry, that one's not all laughs, but it's just interesting to see that it's not all kind of weird stuff. Sometimes there is a serious reason behind some of these strange laws. It is illegal for 2 beers to be sold for the price of 1, or BOGO, or as we say in the UK, bog off.
Love it. Must be to make sure they're not encouraging excessive drinking.
Oh,
Yeah,
give me two.
double fisting.
Yeah.
It was probably a very common offer at the time, and then
Yeah. And
people were getting too rowdy.
Yeah, well, word would get around, two for the price of one. Hey!
Yeah. In Athens, Clarke County, if you want to read your favourite book in public to your friends, do it before 2:45 a.m.
Right, I'm going to read this one.
A bit long, this one.
According to the Code of Athens, Clarke County, it shall be unlawful for any public entertainment facility located within the boundaries of Athens, Clarke County to offer or provide public entertainment between the hours of 2:45 a.m. and 7 a.m. Live public entertainment shall include, but is not limited to, any musical performance, theatrical performance, literary reading and disc jockey performance where the audience is present at the actual time of occurrence. Okay everyone, that's the last one. We'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on any of these. Please drop them down in the comment section below.
Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give us a like, maybe share with a friend, and hit subscribe to follow us on YouTube.